Hi everyone, Titus here again for more fun with post-processing effects in Unreal Engine. In this video, I'll break down the Chaff grenade effect I showed off in the Blender Flashbang mini-series, where we actually throw a model, and then it kind of explodes, and you see the effect. But let's not waste any time, jump right into it. Alright, so the first place we're going to go to is actually inside Blender, because we need to make a quick model of I guess what you'd call a piece of chaff. So to do that, we're not going to be doing anything crazy. It's just going to be a quick low poly model. So nothing too complicated, just a simple 16-sided cylinder with some merge centers on the endpoints. So you can do Shift A. We're going to add a cylinder. I'm going to change the vertices down to 16, something low poly. And then I'm just going to scale down. I have a reference in here that I made earlier. You can see it there. I'm in metric. It looks like it is about 2 centimeters tall, and then about 6 centimeters wide. So if you're looking to kind of get that, scale it down a bit here, rotate it on the X 90, and then continue to scale. We got something like that. And then I'm going to tab into edit mode, go to face select. I'll select this face. I'm going to extrude it out to my endpoint. I'm going to press M to merge that and collapse it at the center. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Extract, merge, and then at center. And then what we can do is just go to edge select, and then just kind of make it, I guess kind of like whatever shape you're going for, really. You know, you don't have to do mine. You can make it like a bullet. That works pretty good. That was like my first attempt that I did. Oops. Do that. Grab in the Y. And out there. And then maybe I'll just scale it up just a bit. I can isolate it, come out of transparency. And then I can just shade it smooth or sharpen it. And you got just something simple, you know. Feel free to change the shape out however you want if you want to experiment a little bit, but just make sure it's low poly, because these visual effects are very expensive. They're normally just a 2D image, so be careful with what you do. But once you have the shape that you like, we'll go to File, Export, FBX. I am going to just name it _chaff. Make sure only selected objects for the include is checked. So we're only getting the one item in the scene. Make sure you have the X forward and Z up. That's good practice for Unreal Engine because those are the transforms it uses. And then before we actually export it, let's hit cancel because I did forget. If you hit N, your rotation and your scale is probably off. It's good practice. Just press Control A. Do rotation or scale or all transforms, either one, and make sure you're zeroed out and you're uniform across the scale. And then I'm going to go back up, File, Export, FBX, _chaff, just so I can tell it apart. The other things I make sure, it's not relevant on this, but armature, I make sure leaf bone isn't checked. Geometry, I'll also do smoothing as face instead of normal. But that's not going to be relevant for this model, but I'll do that in general for anything Unreal Engine related. And then we'll hit export, and then we're done with Blender. Then we minimize, and now we're back in Unreal. So we're going to need some folders. So the first folder I'm going to make, I'll do Control-Shift-N. It's going to be SFX for our special effects. Control-Shift-N. We'll do underscore audio. Control Shift N. We'll do underscore blueprints. Control Shift N. And trying to think what else we're going to need. So we got audio. Blender, underscore blender for our model. We might make more folders, but I think that's a good starting point. So for audio, I downloaded some audio from freesound.org. Let me actually go find it real quick. Actually, before I do audio, since I'm already here, under Blender, we can drag in the Chaff effect. Actually, let me show you how I'm doing that. So once you find your FBX model, you can actually just highlight it and then just drag it into the scene. It'll bring up the import window, and if you want to see what options I have, you can just freeze the video. I usually just leave the defaults for stuff like this because it's real simple. I'll just do import all. There's my little chaff effect. I'm going to go to audio, and I downloaded a pretty cool static from freesound.org. Just check the Creative Commons license, make sure you have to give credit, or if it's a free asset, especially if you're doing a commercial product. But we're going to use this to actually apply in the post-process. So like when you walk into the chaff, it's going to mess with the screen and play that sound. And that's going to be the only two things we need to import. So now we can actually go to our SFX folder, and we can begin working on the particle system. So what we'll do is we'll just right click, we'll do Niagara system, and then you can do a new system from selected emitters, just hit next. And then I'm gonna do directional burst, hit the plus sign, and then finish. Call it ns underscore chaff. I actually have one already called Chaff, so and then you can just double click it and it'll open it up. Now when you open it up, it's probably going to look like this. I don't particularly like working with special effects with the environment showing, so what you can do is add your preview scene selection. So under window, make sure your preview scene selection is checked, and then you can just come over here and select the preview scene, uncheck the show environment. And then for the environment color, you can just bring it to a nice, like dark color, so you can actually see the effect a little bit better while you're working with it. Yeah, so right now we're going to change this to a different direction. So under the add velocity section, it's in a cone, which is fine. I want it to go on the z-axis, I think, instead of the x. So I'm going to put x at 0, y at 0, and z on 1. So kind of like that. And then the cone seems like it's a little too steep, so I'm going to widen the cone angle, so maybe 180 degrees. Kind of like that. And then the drag force, I'm going to increase the drag force, maybe 1.2 and 1.6. And then I'm going to go to the gravity, and then right now it's negative 980. I'm actually going to switch that to negative 5 because I kind of want it to float, kind of like that. And then we're going to need to add some curl noise and some rotational force here. So let's do, under the particle update, let's hit the plus sign, and we'll search for curl noise. Choose that. And I think 1050 is probably okay for the defaults right now. We'll see how it kind of goes. Let's hit the plus sign on particle update again. And we're going to do our rotational force. So mesh rotational force. And then for the rotational force, I'm going to try maybe, I like to do different ones on each axis, so you kind of get a little bit of variety. So maybe a 1, a 5, and a 10. And we won't be able to see anything until I can slow these particles down. So let's change the actual particle to the model that we made. So we can't use a sprite renderer because sprite's 2D. So we'll hit the plus sign. And we're actually going to do a mesh render. And we'll uncheck sprite. For the mesh, you can see it's these weird little cube things. We can actually just press, click out of it over here, Control spacebar, and then we can go to our Blender folder. We have our chaff, we can highlight it, and then we can hit this arrow, and it'll automatically pop it in. And you can kind of see it there. So let's actually save this effect real quick, and let's see if we can bring in game. So I'm going to delete these other effects I made for the demo at the beginning of the video. So now I'm going to hit plus or play. Yeah, nothing. Okay, perfect. Then what you can do is just drag out your effect a couple times. And then when you hit play, you can kind of see it. Doesn't last very long, so let's fix that real quick. Under the initialized particle, the lifetime, I'm probably going to do maybe a 5 and 10. Save that. That way when it explodes, you can kind of see all these like particles like spinning around. It's kind of like Chaffy, which I guess I didn't know this, but I guess chaff grenades are not a real thing. So video games and movies have lied to me. But I imagine that's how it would look. Which is pretty neat. But let's maybe add some color to it. So what we'll want to do is go back to our content folder. We'll do Control-Shift-N, and we'll create a folder called _ materials, like that. We can then go into the materials folder, and we're going to, of course, right-click and create a material. I'm going to name this M_ for material. And I'm going to call it the E base. E being short for emission. So this is just basically going to be a template where I'm going to create some material instances off of, because I might want to play with a few different colors. You can, of course, just make one if you're absolutely sure you know the color you want to make. But if you're making a project where maybe your players maybe want to choose different colors or cosmetics or whatever, then doing a material instance would probably be more appropriate. So creating it this way would make more sense. So we got E base there. You can open that up here. And this one's going to be pretty straightforward. We're essentially just going to hold 3 and then click into the graph editor, and that's going to give us a color. You can right click on that and convert to parameter and call it color. And then we can get we can press M on our keyboard and click in and get a multiply node. And you just hook up the RGB value endpoint into the A input. And then we just need a singular value, so you can press 1 and click in here. And then you can right click and convert this to a parameter as well. And you can maybe call it maybe intensity or power, or I guess probably brightness would have been a better name. Yeah, let's do brightness. And you can hook this into the B channel, and then you just hook your output pin on the multiplier into the emissive color. And then you can just simply save. And we're done with the template. We'll go back to our materials folder, and we're just going to right click on it on the E base, and you'll see an option to create a material instance. I'm going to call this MI for material instance _. I'm going to try a blue. And then when I open this up, I can check the brightness and the color, and I can simply play around with some values. Maybe right around there. And then maybe try a brightness of 100. And just like that, you can get some quick effects. Now I'm going to go back to my chaff and press Control Space. Under Materials, I'm going to select my MI _ blue. And then in the mesh render, there's a enable material override to basically override any materials applied to the mesh, which technically isn't any, but we'll check that. And we're going to add one element to the array. And the one we're going to add is, we'll just hit the little arrow, and it'll auto load the material we created. Might be a little bit too bright, we'll see here in a second. But I'm going to compile and save, and I'm going to hit play. Actually, it kind of works. And you can see the effect, at least for the special effect on the chaff grenade, if it's what you're going for. We can also experiment. We can create another material instance, call it mi_red. And brightness, we'll do 100, seems to be okay actually. And then let's play maybe a deep red. And then go back over here, control space, select that, pop that over there, save it. And maybe you want red chaff. Just the last one that we'll do is we'll try green. Create material instance, mi_green. Check these two boxes. 100, and we'll do a light green. I think I personally like the blue more, but green, hit the arrow, save. But yeah. Alright, good people, we'll cut it here to keep the video short. In the next one, we'll create the grenade blueprint. We'll prepare some collision checking, and we'll work on our character blueprint as well, so we can actually throw the grenade to actually create that effect. But as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and see you on the next one.